Okay, so now we have the Pearson VUE Florida Insurance Licensing Candidate Handbook. This is the company that DFS contracted. I mean, there's no better information, okay? This is straight from the horse's mouth. If we scroll down here, the link that David sent you kind of has my notes on it, right? Well, let's check this out. As soon as you get to this page, the first thing that you see on the left side of it is Department of Financial Services. Slang-wise, DFS or department, all of those are interchangeable, and I will tell you, the test is going to use them all interchangeably. So they're not going to give you the initials, but they will refer to it as the department, okay? Now, on this page, there's not really much information on this page, but in the second paragraph down where it says exam reservations before making an exam, look, this candidate handbook contains information regarding eligibility, examination, and licensing application process. So if you were looking at, you see my highlights there, that's exactly how we outline the textbook too, okay? But that's what this document here is actually good for, because if we're gonna follow side by side, you guys can follow along in the NAFA manual, which is mentioned in this form, in this PDF. But you can follow along in the NAFA manual. I believe we're in chapter 26.6. That works out to be like page 412, 415, something like that, okay? But right now, I want you to stay in this PDF, even if you have the book, all right? On exam day, you got to bring proper identification. Guys, that's all it is. Just show up with your driver's license, all right? You don't have a driver's license, they're going to send you a whole list of things that you can use. Me, I'm not going through that because it's not a tested topic. Now, if we go down to page 4, we have an overview, right? The most important thing here is that they tell you on the first paragraph that it says pay special attention to the content outlines. This is what we're going over right now. This is the most important thing that we can go over, because why? 607 pages. Would you like to absorb all that and figure out what the key words and topics are? Or would you like us to rip 150 plus pages out of there and only highlight the sentences on those 150 pages that mean something? The reason I'm able to dissect this book and all of these books so good is because the state of Florida, the Department of Financial Services, they have it published on the My Florida CFO site. They actually publish it with the Pearson VUE too. So that's what we're going to do. Our entire curriculum only addresses this year's outline from the state. And I'm going to send that over to you guys in a little bit. Actually, do me a favor, David, send that over to them now. Don't click it and run away from me. Just go ahead and hold it there, because I'm going to go into it next. The only other thing on this page that's important, and on page we're on is on page 4, is the fact that the examination fee is $44. Now, you can take this test 5 times. And if you go at another school, you might have to take this test 5 times in order to get your license. But here we're going to do our best to get you through it on the first try. How? By going ahead and making sure that the first thing we do is show you where to find the information and exactly what information is relevant. Now, if we scroll down a little bit and we hit the introduction on page 5, you're going to see here on page 5 that the first thing you see again for state licensing, Florida Department of Financial Services. For examinations, Pearson VUE, right there up top in that blue. What do you need to know? $44. Please don't ask me why they want us to bring that up so many times, but the department loves for us to talk about fees, okay? Now, in reference to the cost, I'm going to bring a little attention here in a moment to some old info because it's from 2020, but I want to drive this in, the licensing process here. In a nutshell, licensing just gives people permission to engage in the business, right? We already established. It's just to establish minimum standards. And that's what this first paragraph here is saying. It's a process designed to protect the public. Now, next line there, they just want to make sure you know that if you have any problems with Pearson VUE or any of the other vendors, it is not the state of Florida, okay? If you have an issue when you're taking the state exam, all of those things are all Pearson VUE. Now, You do have to apply for your license. Now, yes, you can go ahead and pay Pearson VUE for the test, but you do have to apply for your insurance license with the Department of Financial Services. Here in that PDF, it's going to tell you that the application fee is $50 with a $5 license identification fee, but I do believe that fee has gone up since 2020 to $55, but the 44 still stays the same. Now let's scroll down to page 6, under general guidelines here. It goes back to how we opened up the section. The Chief Financial Officer is responsible for regulating Florida's insurance industry. The Department of Financial Services includes the Division of Agent and Agency Services, which monitors agents, adjusters, and agencies. Well, we know that because that's actually how we got here. So Pearson VUE, if you were to found Pearson VUE, is pointing you back to the department, back to agent and agency services, or some classes are just pointing you back to chapter 26 where you can go ahead and read it on your own. Anyway, we already went through the licensing requirements. They're on here, but just remember, you got to be at least 18, U.S. citizen. You do have to submit an online application. You do have to submit fingerprints. If we go down a little further, fingerprints, really, just remember, fingerprints are all about your background check. Do I want to take your word for it? No, of course I don't want to take your word for it. Nobody wants to take your word for it. So that's it. They just go in here. Now, post-licensing requirements. Once again, here it is. This is all about getting licensed, and here we are again at the appointment. What is the appointment? That's something that comes once you're already licensed. Now, this is why I like going through some of these things, because it could be a little confusing to talk about pre-licensing and post-licensing in the same discussion. So what is the appointment? You already have your license. You already took the state exam and you passed. That's the alignment with the insurer, okay? And here we go again. No one can transact the business of insurance or adjust claims unless they're officially appointed. The appointing entity is the person who pays the fees to the state. We'll go over that again. Don't worry about it. We're just identifying dots, fam. All we're doing is identifying dots. Now, what I'm doing now is I'm skipping all the way to the bottom, because down on page 11, they just want to know you have to have one form of identification. So that's where you're going to see them: driver's license, learner's permit, identification card, passport, military ID, or alien registration green card. All right, now if we go down to page 13, this is important because it's all about retaking the exam. I mentioned it before, but this is where it is in nice PDF ink. When you want to retake the exam, you must pay another fee. Every time you take the course, you got to pay the exam fee, which is $44. Fees are not refundable. None of the fees are refundable. Okay, not the application fee to the state. Nothing is refundable. And there's a limit of 5 examination attempts for the same exam during a 12-month period. So let's get this done on the first try, because nobody wants to spend $220 in fees when we can spend $44. All right. Now, down on page 15, where we're preparing for the exam, here's where they go into helpful hints. This is a big helpful hint, because candidates are advised to obtain a current copy of the candidate handbook, which is what we're going through right now, and be familiar with the examination process. Well, when we go into the outline, we're going to see that, there's just quite a few bullet points we've already touched. All the little things like the fingerprinting and things like that, those are things we're absolutely going to be tested on. The second bullet point here is obtain an examination study manual and use the outline. Well, this is the examination study manual. I don't say not to use it. It's a little expensive, and I'm not real crazy about how it frames the conversation, considering that everything that we're going over right now is part of chapter 26. And we just went through it in 9 minutes and 37 seconds with the greatest of ease. So Now this is where it's important, because where I talk about the outline, I'm about to show you where the outline is. And one of the last things it says here is on content outlines. Content outlines are developed by the Department of Financial Services in cooperation with the subject matter experts from the Florida insurance industry. Let's go down a little bit further. Not all questions on the examination will be covered in course or study materials. The content outlines will take precedence. So, well, I skipped a bunch of stuff, but it says, and sometimes study material may not reflect recent changes in content outlines. If there is a discrepancy, the content outline takes precedent. Candidates who do not use an approved study manual should be certain that the materials they use cover topics in the outline. Now here, you see that right under, that's just showing you where you can order the Kaplan. Of course, if you want the book, order it from us, no problem. At the very, very bottom, that's just where they tell you how much time you have to take the test. If you're taking just the health or just the life and annuities, you have 2 hours. If you're taking health, life, and annuities, you have 2 hours and 45 minutes. And that concludes the Pearson VUE Insurance Licensing Handbook. In the next segment, we're going to go over the course content so you can feel rest assured that everything we discuss is not only up to date with fees and things like that. We're talking up to date down to the press conferences, the press releases and the examples that we use in the classroom. So check it out.